Hey guys, it's Martin again. It's been a long time since my last entry into the We're Still Here series, and as always, I'm going to apologize for that because it feels like the last 4 or 5 times I've apologized for delaying making these. This time, I feel like I have a relatively acceptable excuse or reason for having a delay. I was in the hospital, as a lot of you know, for almost 2 weeks, and I have been recovering from. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and if you don't know what that is, it's kind of gross. Feel free to look it up if you're that interested. But basically, having problems with my colon, and that's not fun. And it's ongoing, but they're treating me. I'm actually going back to the hospital tonight in like 3 hours to have another examination done, which is going to be fun. But yeah, overall, the reason I couldn't do videos, like, because here's the thing. Doing We're Still Here doesn't take hours of my time. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of skill, but it does take a certain mood, I suppose. It takes a certain frame of mind, and I was not in that frame of mind for the last month, at least, I'd say. But I felt a lot of guilt for that. I felt like I'd left a lot of you sort of in the lurch, and I know a lot of people from experience. I know from doing the conventions and from just talking to people I know in real life that these videos do help a lot of you, and they, you know, it's not necessarily me that's doing the help. It's just you trying to find an avenue for certain feelings or experiences you may be having. It's you making an effort to explore this and to learn about yourself and to learn why you might be feeling the things you're feeling in regards to depression, or just, you know, feeling miserable, or just feeling dejected in general, or anything in that realm. And I know that not having that probably was a bit damaging for some of you, and I don't really have a good response to that. I don't really have a way of saying, you know, well, I'm back now, so it's okay. It's not okay. And while I am doing better physically, and I am doing better mentally, I keep saying this, I feel like doing these videos has helped me a great deal with my depression. That doesn't mean that I don't want to keep doing them, and that doesn't mean that they don't need to be done. And not doing them was difficult for me. You know, it's difficult to have something like this. I look forward to doing it. You know, I don't look forward to sometimes making myself cry and making myself, you know, confront certain feelings, but I look forward to the release. I look forward to the feeling I have afterwards, and the feeling of knowing that maybe it's helping people and it's helping me. So, you know, overall, I feel like I did a disservice by not doing it, but I couldn't, and that really sucks. But I am here now, and all I can do is continue making these. And I know a lot of people who tune into this channel don't tune in for these videos, and that's fine. Don't watch them. I'm going to keep making them because I need to. I was in the hospital for, like I said, about 10, 11 days. And it was a pretty miserable experience. It was extremely lonely. I've never had an extended stay in the hospital. I think the longest I've been in the hospital has been a night, maybe two days. And when I got to here's the thing. I went to the emergency room several times before they actually admitted me to the hospital and had me stay there. And they kept giving me different answers, which was extremely frustrating. They didn't give me different diagnoses. They just kept giving me like different medication, and they kept giving me different doses, and they kept giving me different advice as to how to deal with it, and kept telling me that it wasn't that serious. And then it turned out to be really serious when they actually examined me, when I was actually, put in the hospital and monitored. So that was fun. They had me in there for 2 days, and then they checked me out, and they were like, "Oh, this really needs to be taken care of now, or we might need to do some intense surgery," which fortunately it looks like doesn't have to happen. We'll see. Like, I mean, I seem to be improving, like I said. But yeah, I was there for a good 10 days at least, and it was one of the worst experiences ever. Like, the nurses, for the most part, were extremely indifferent, which, at the end of the day, they're doing their job. I get it. But they were... they could have been nicer, is all I'll say. There were 2 or 3 that were actually... They genuinely seemed to care about, the patients, and there were people who, put an effort in. But for the most part, everybody just seemed to want to just walk in, look at me, take my blood, and inject me with something, and then leave. The really frustrating thing for me was that the majority of the response to whenever I needed help was just to inject me with morphine, and then, let that take its course, which, it did help, but I didn't feel like the problem was being addressed. But and there was one time when apparently my stomach was distended or something like that, and they had to stuff like a tube up my nose that went down into my stomach to drain a bunch of fluid from it. They never once explained to me what was going on. I guess I could have asked, but I was on morphine and I didn't know what the hell was happening at the time. So I just had a woman come in and start shoving a tube up my nose after asking whether I wanted it in my left nostril or my right nostril. And I was like, what's happening? Why are things going in my nose? And then they couldn't get the bloody the tube machine pump thing to work for, I'd say, at least 5 hours after they stuffed it in me. So I was sat there in a lot of discomfort. It wasn't exactly painful, but it was extremely uncomfortable, and I was very confused. And then they put it in around noon, and then around like 7 or 8, they actually got it working. And then it seemed to stop working every so often. I didn't know what was going on. I eventually asked, and they told me, and they were very confused as to why I hadn't been told why I had a tube stuffed down my throat from my nose to my stomach. But it didn't seem to help at all. But who knows? I'm not the expert. But it was an extremely lonely experience, just because I was just on my own in a hospital for a very long time. It was an interminable experience. I know that I'm sure there are a lot of people who have had worse conditions and they've been in the hospital for considerably longer. But for me, it was just awful. Like, I missed my wife, Mariana, so much. Like, I was crying, like, whenever I thought about her. I really just needed her with me. And my friends as well. Like, I had a lot of people come visit me, which I'm extremely grateful for. Like, it's so weird when I'm at home. I'm such an introvert, and I'm going to talk about this in the second part of the video. But when I'm at home, I'm such an introvert. I kind of want to be on my own. But when I was in the hospital, I was like, I need people to talk to. I have nothing. There was a TV that barely worked. And I had my DS and I had some books as well, but for the most part I was just so bored and just miserable. But yeah, people came to visit, and it was really cool. Like, Andrew, my good friend Andrew, came to visit. The Tomas, Josh and Jaxie, Kerbifer, Ben Diskin, my wife, my friend Caitlin, my parents-in-laws, my good friend Laura Post came as well. I had a lot of visitors, and it was one of those things where you take that for granted. You take for granted the fact that these people care about you. And then when you're in that kind of situation, it really comes forward, and it blows my mind that I have all these friends who really do care. And sometimes it's hard to believe that, especially when you're depressed. and it was a bad situation, and I'm still recovering. But you know, the fact that I have friends and family to support me is helpful. But just know that if you don't have that, if you're ever in a situation like, you know, not even just a physical, you know, illness, if you're ever just in need of company, or if you just need like a friend, or if you're just down in the dumps, you know, there are people out there who are willing to talk to you. Like there are forums you can join. I wish I had something specific to suggest. I'm sure there are specifics, but it's impossible for me to know exactly what you're dealing with. I have a few links in the description on these videos that might help, but I don't want you to think that just because if you don't have a family or friends, even if you don't have that, or if you don't have people who are willing to be there for you, that there aren't people there for you, because there are people out there who are willing to talk. You know, and they may not be your best friend in the world, and they may not be like your lover or your brother or your father, but they're people, and they matter, and they think you matter, and I think you matter, and that's I can't even see you right now, but you do matter. And lying in that hospital bed and being alone, it made me really appreciate the people who, for no reason other than I came into their lives at some point and they chose to accept me as a friend, they really do give a shit. And there are people like that out there for you. But yeah, the getting out of the hospital was the best feeling ever. I don't mind telling you. When they told me that I could be, that I was being, what do they call it? Dispatched? I don't know. When they told me I was being taken out of the hospital and I could go home and deal with the rest of my recovery from home, that was like a wave of relief washing over me. It surprised me because they acted like I was going to have to be there a considerably longer time. But it seemed like the medication they were giving me, I'm on this thing called Remicade, which has, I mentioned in a previous video, it has a ton of side effects which are really kicking my ass to, you have no idea, to the nth degree, but it seems to be working on my colitis, and that's the important thing, you know. As long as it's working, and I don't have to be on it forever, cross fingers. So hopefully, I just got another dose a few days ago, and one of the reasons that examining me today is to see how it's going. So is hoping it's doing its job, because I'm doing what I can to stay healthy, and I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're doing what you can to keep yourself in a right frame of mind and in a good physical condition as well. Oh, my stomach's going crazy. I don't know if you can hear that. It's really driving me crazy. It's acting up a lot. I'm a very antisocial guy in general. I don't do it to be, you know, I'm not standoffish. I don't try to push people away, but I don't seek out, you know, social interaction that much. I don't feel, you know, compelled to be like, oh, I need to be friends with this person when I meet them. I don't feel like, whenever there's a conversation happening, I don't feel like I need to be part of it. I don't feel like I have anything to contribute to it. And maybe that's, you know, it's not depression, really. I think that's just me having low self-esteem. But it can be a problem. But at the same time, that's kind of who I've just sort of grown into. With the depression, it's different. When you're depressed, you really cut yourself off from people. What I'm trying to explain is that as a person, I'm socially awkward, and I'm an introvert, like I said. But as a, you know, victim of depression, I'm a victim of that. If people who I actually genuinely care about, people who I might want to see if they call me up and invite me out somewhere, I will refuse point blank. I will tell myself I don't deserve to have that experience, or I'll even go with them somewhere, I'll hang out, and I'll be miserable the whole time, and I won't enjoy it because I just can't allow myself to. My depression won't let me enjoy myself. And that's different from how I am usually. What I'm trying to really say is that it's important to recognize the difference between being just an antisocial person, which, you know, can suck, but if it's who you are, it's who you are. Like, I personally believe that not everybody has to be a bloody social, you know, debutante or whatever. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly. Not everybody has to be friends with everybody. Not everybody has to. It's not like The Sims where it's like, make more friends and then you will do better in life. You know, maybe I had 2 close friends my entire time at school, and I was relatively happy with that. And that's not a bad thing. And I didn't really hang out outside of school that much. You know, I was I was a quiet guy. And I know I've talked about, you know, being bullied and, you know, having to be taken out of school and all that, and not finishing school, but that had nothing to do with the fact that I kept to myself. That was just me being a victim of circumstance and me being different from other people, unfortunately, and being treated differently as a result. It's not the worst thing in the world to be antisocial, in my opinion. And if you ever feel like, you know, personally, I feel like, obviously, if your friend sees a problem with it, it's a good idea to take steps to, you know, repair that. But you shouldn't feel obligated to be somebody's friend, if that makes sense. You should be friends with people who you feel naturally comfortable with, and that make you happy just by having that friendship. But with depression, it damages those relationships that you do have, that you feel comfortable with, that you feel like you've actually been able to nurture to the point that you know what you're doing with that. And that's the worst. Like, I have lost friends from being depressed, and I guess I can't entirely blame it on depression, because you can't at the end of the day, but it definitely was an element of it, and it contributed to it. And I guess ultimately what I'm saying is, you know, if you're not an antisocial person and you have depression and you start to feel that way, it's very important to stay in touch with people. It's very important to try and keep communicating. Not, like I said, you shouldn't feel obligated to be somebody's friend, but when you're depressed, it's important to talk. It's very important to talk about these things and to let people know what you're going through. It doesn't mean forcing yourself to be friends with somebody. That means just trying to keep your friends aware of what is happening. Because it's really hard to understand. It's really hard to put into words sometimes. So it is hard to really talk to your friends about it sometimes. It's hard to talk. It's hard for me to talk about it even at this point, and I've been talking about it for a while. You know, if you're depressed and you start letting the depression take away your friends, when all of those friends have gone, all you've got left as a friend is the depression. And it's not a good friend. It's not your friend. It's important to try and recognize that when you're placing the depression over the important bonds that you've made in your life with other people. And it happens a lot. But just know that, you know, if you feel just as a person that you're antisocial, that's fine. Don't feel this. I feel guilty sometimes, but I don't think I need to. It's okay to be a bit, you know, it's okay to be outside of that circle sometimes, but don't cut yourself off. Don't completely remove yourself from every circle. Don't leave, because nobody wants to lose you. Nobody wants that. And if they do, they're not your friend. Depression wants that, and it's not your friend. So I hope I've made any sense. I hope I've made an ounce of sense this time. I'm actually feeling very weak, lightheaded, but I wanted to talk because I said that I would, and because I should, and because I want to. I've missed talking to you guys, and you know, I know some of you haven't missed these videos, but I will hopefully be making more creative projects in the near future. I just don't know if I'm physically up to it just right now. And I know that most of my videos are just me yelling or talking into a microphone. So you'd think, well, why can't you do that? It's not like your condition stops you from talking, as evidenced by this video. But you'd be surprised. Like the Remicade, actually, the slightest thing has caused me to almost faint, and I get very exhausted at the drop of a hat, which, you know, it's not fun. But I'm gonna keep doing this, definitely, because this isn't too taxing. It's not. It's something that I can do, and it's something that I want to do. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week, and I really hope you're doing okay. I hope that I haven't completely fallen off the radar for you, and I hope that that this comes at a good time, or if it comes at a time when it'll help you out. So yeah, take care of yourself.